In today's episode of Lead with Tech, I wanted to talk about WBHO Construction. They're one of Africa's largest construction firms. They've got a very large footprint in sub-Saharan Africa, as well as the United Kingdom. They've got a very good, strong foothold there as well. So when you're dealing in an international company like that who've done projects all over the world, there are various departments that need to have the same sets of data when conducting an actual full-scale project. And I mean, the communication lines need to be very fluid and very open so that everyone involved can be up to date and make sure that they're all on the same page in order to be rolling out an effective solution and an effective project. So essentially, when these various data sets are siloed between departments, there can be a cascading effect whereby the information is not shared in real time and various departments will not be brought up to speed in an effective way to make sure that they can roll out on plan and as per the schedule had been planned and rolled out for. So
do we know what kind of technology they're using right now to communicate or to manage projects?
What I've noticed is that in the construction industry, there are many, many solutions in terms of project management, stock and logistic control and tracking. And often these large-scale companies can be overwhelmed with the various solutions that are out there. But most of the time, these solutions are very niche. So it will only be project management related. It will only be stock or logistic control and tracking related. It won't be
so
a
you're
fully
talking
fledged...
like that those pieces are not interconnected between each other, right? So among themselves.
Yes, 100%. So, it comes at a bit of a disadvantage because a lot of the information can become redundant and there can be a lot of confusion that arises between interdepartmental leaders and project managers. And as a result, that can cause project delays and project blockers, which ultimately causes a rise in funds or a loss of budget. And when you're dealing with a large-scale project that can run into the hundreds of millions, if not billions, then you're talking a substantial amount of money.
It surprises me every time when you actually encounter what kind of problems or what kind of bottlenecks companies would have. Like I remember this example with Aruco, the largest wood producer in the world. And when we talked to them about this very simple idea, just the foot in the door project, basically, some of the workers, right, they come in and the ones that work in the warehouse, for example, they have to, by the law, they have to fill out a form, the safety form every morning. And it's like a pile of paper, 50, 100 people or something like that. Each person has to grab that piece of paper, fill it out, sign it, and then submit it. It takes about 40 minutes to an hour to just complete that whole process. And everyone has to wait because they work in brigades. So the very simple solution to that was a very simple AI solution, voice activated, basically an app where the worker would just talk to the AI on the app, and AI would just be asking all those questions very quickly and yes or no answers, right? And then Face ID as a signature, digital signature, basically. And it's submitted automatically. And the person could be doing that as he or she is walking towards the site where the person is working that day. So that idea would have saved, 80% of the time that's spent on those safety protocols every morning. But accumulatively, that would be days or weeks of construction time. So even small examples like those, they show you how many intricate details there are in all those different industries, all those different companies. If you have a lot of silos in the company and it's a large project, that's typically always bottlenecked in various places. We know this from experience working with large companies. The bigger the company, the more bottlenecks there are, and the more efficiency opportunities there are as well. So connecting those silos together, when we know that supply of that lumber or whatever is coming next week, and that lumber is going to be used on this project by this group, and that group is working on this stuff, how to connect these like 3 or 4 data points in order to create a seamless forecast for the entire crew and the manager, obviously, of the project, so that they would see, oh, we're actually, if it comes next week, then, well, this crew's still got to be working on that project. So an intelligent system would have rerouted maybe that lumber to a different site, right? Or reprioritize things a little bit differently. intelligently. And with our AI expertise, obviously, we can see all those possibilities now. There's no more the idea of, hey, let's find an out-of-the-box solution that would solve our problem. I mean, in the ideal world, it would have worked, but it never works in the real world. You don't have any out-of-the-box systems that just fit your business 100%. You always have to do some customizations. And in this case, it would be the same thing. Like if we were to talk to these guys, it would be a totally custom AI intelligence project to cater to their needs. Tell me more about them.
It's quite common to see in the construction industry is that they are somewhat lagging behind in terms of technology or new technology adoption. And as a result of that, they are not ahead of the technological curve, or they're not in alignment with the technological curve. So they're somewhat behind in terms of technological adoption. However, with WBHO, they are actually actively now turning that new leaf in terms of digital transformation. So they are doing a few things like adopting building information modeling, which is, the premise behind that is just to help them reduce waste and obviously improve project outcomes, enhancing planning and construction processes. But again, it's not a fully fledged solution that's going to bring all the data sets of information to a centralized hub. And I think that is possibly where they could look to further enhance their infrastructure moving forward, so that they can really provide all the information to their users and their workforce's fingertips. Now, what that basically can do is, it provides real-time visibility. If you have something or an AI solution or a custom solution that's going to be able to provide a centralized hub that brings all the information together into an easy to absorb format, you're going to allow your workforce to also provide them with the ability to be more proactive rather than reactive. Because let's face it, in construction, there are going to be anomalies that arise all the time, whether there's a delay on certain materials or something goes wrong on site and there is a bit of wastage of certain materials. These kind of things do pop up, and allowing your users to have access to real-time information can mitigate certain project blockers. And, these things cause major disruptions. And as I mentioned previously, it has a cascading effect. If there's one major delay, it's going to come through the entire project.
It seems like the best option that is available today, and the most effective one, would be a mobile-first, obviously, strategy with a major AI component here. For AI, the most effective method here would be the swarm of agents. That's kind of, if people who are watching right now, they're not familiar, this is when you have a team of AIs, not just one, like ChatGPT, for example, or something like that. You have a team of customized AIs who work as agents in groups. Like, for example, this AI is responsible for vendors. This AI is responsible for suppliers. This AI is responsible for safety. This AI is responsible for construction crews, for managers. Doesn't matter. Those AIs, they talk to each other. They communicate all the time because, again, AI is artificial intelligence. They're intelligent agents who each has niche expertise of the department that it's attached to, and it knows exactly what's happening right now with the supply chain or whatever, all the statuses on the people. Maybe someone's sick, maybe someone's out, maybe, that thing is delayed, whatever. So they always know the latest update and status, but they work as a team to then feed all those data points back into the centralized hub, as you call it. Imagine it's a mobile app in the hands of the project managers or the construction director or, someone who oversees the whole operation. But then instead of reactively providing information as people are used to these days, and that's how the internet is changing, actually. This is one of the signs, is that internet is becoming more proactive rather than reactive. So instead of you looking for data, the data is fed to you. And if you need that data, you don't have to memorize, okay, I'll have to go to that window, open that thing, open that link. You just ask in natural language. And that's the idea here, is that you would have a mobile app with your own AI assistant who is an agent that has expertise in talking to all other agents, but its goal is to get you informed as a project manager, right? So you would just talk to it and say, okay, so what's the latest today? Do we have any delays? Do we have any problems? What do you see today? And it would just collect all the data in mere seconds, right? Milliseconds, and then talk to you in natural language in the voice that you prefer and tell you, yeah, well, today we're actually anticipating a few delays, but they're not going to be significant. Well, where are they? Well, they're happening on site 1A, I don't know, AW4, whatever. Who's in charge of those? Well, John and Alex are in charge of those, but it's not their fault. We could do these things differently. So how would you rotate the crew? Well, these are the options for you. We could rotate these guys into there because they're underloaded today. The forecast for tomorrow is rain, so we're not going to be able to build the road. So those things, and I just want to make this absolutely clear, those things are not fantasy anymore. Those things are absolutely real today with the right expertise that only a few, like a handful of companies so far has, including TechRe. It is possible to make it happen. The value of this, obviously, even from me just mumbling about it with no expertise in construction whatsoever, you could already hear the value of this. Like, it's enormous. You could totally turn things around differently and help your company grow. And this is exactly what digital transformation for construction would look like. And for any company, really, but we're talking about construction pieces today that we already see could benefit a lot from AI agents working in swarms as teams and then feeding that data back to all the responsible parties. Even construction crews could have mobile apps with their own AI assistants there, basically telling them, hey, you're having a break in 20 minutes, right? And then you have to accomplish these things today. Also, like, don't forget, it's got to be windy after 2 p.m. with gusts up to, 40 miles an hour. So I know that you're working on the 6th floor and, be careful. You might consider that wind, stuff like that, which would also potentially eliminate a lot of the safety issues or claims, right? God forbid, the company would have to deal with later. So it's insane what kind of intelligent, proactive help a solution like that would bring to even established, well-rounded company like the company that we're talking about today. So that would be my understanding of the digital transformation of a construction company on the big scale.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, again, it goes back to all these different moving parts that make up this entire project. And, when you're dealing with a large-scale company like that who are, very successful, they've been well-established for many, many years and have worked on some really sophisticated projects, it goes without saying that each one of these moving parts have their own set of compliances that they need to follow. They've probably got their own sets of technology that they make use of to further enhance their abilities to roll out a quality construction. But with all of that said, I think it's something that the construction industry definitely needs to look at in terms of digital transformation, when they can bring something and leverage and embrace these new versions of technology now that can only further enhance the existing infrastructure that's in place already.
They just need to start. Yeah, they just need to start. It's the problem that we see now. We see this across the board everywhere. Everyone is okay and kind of easy to embrace the idea of just a traditional solution. But whenever you bring up AI, people get a little bit scared about data security, complexity, efficiency, and all that stuff. However, this is exactly the moment when you need to act. This is your first baby step towards the actual digital transformation, because 2-3 years from now, 5 tops, we're going to be living in a totally different digital reality when most of the stuff that we know today will be absolutely automated and optimized by AI. And if you're not ready for that as a large company, especially with still offline processes like, hey, call John, ask him what's going on site B, whatever. If you're still that, then someone else who has been doing those steps, have been taking those steps all this time, they'll be so much superior in the eyes of investors or people who are willing to work with you. You will just become obsolete if you're not doing this. And AI is definitely the step. It's the new internet, basically. That's what it is. Like, a lot of people mistakenly compare it to Bitcoin, but it's not Bitcoin, it's internet. It's how internet was when it was just starting out. Not a lot of people really understood its utility and how vast it could become and how effective it would become. And today we just can't imagine our lives without it. Same thing with AI. In 5 years, 10 years, we're not going to be able to understand how we could live without it because it's everywhere and it's doing everything that we need it to do. And construction companies are not an exception from this rule.
When people are throwing around the term AI, they think, employee cuts and retrenchment, etc. But it's totally not the case. At the end of the day, what this technology can do for construction companies specifically is not reduce the workforce, but it actually empowers the workforce. So, you can free up some mundane tasks which would be manual in the past. But nowadays you can free it up and let those processes be automated so that your key staff can actually focus on higher priority tasks. In terms of the safety, they can maybe have an interface that's generated by the AI that there's only just a couple of checklists that they might need to check off, that can take a photograph of certain wiring to make sure that it is in compliance, and it can be sent off to the safety officer prior site inspection, for instance, to free up some time. So there are many ways that this technology can actually reduce time wastage and focus on smaller automation tasks so that your key employees can actually focus on the real-time stuff that needs to be addressed in person.
Yeah, for large companies like construction companies, AI is not a solution to replace people, obviously, because construction companies, by default, they need people. And our philosophy, as you know, at Techre, is that we are human-obsessed, but AI-empowered. So our philosophy in general is, how can we use modern technologies, cutting-edge technologies, to empower people who are already in their positions? They're effective, but how can we make them even more efficient? For example, AI is great at finding savings for the company. A lot of the things that people can do, but they are always shorthanded. They're always behind schedule. They're always triple booked. They have limited capacity physically and mentally, right? People get sick. People need to sleep and eat. AI doesn't. And AI can do all of those things in an instant. So people need to learn how to manage it and how to work with it and how to use it for them to become a lot more efficient than they are today. And that's exactly the goal here. I think the future of construction is absolutely bright. It just takes one bold company to start moving in this direction boldly again, and getting the foot in the door, starting with a small project, see how it goes. And then if it shows incredible results, then just expand. That would be the strategy for any company, really. I don't believe in large scale decisions like, okay, total overhaul, let's spend $2 billion or something. A simple project like that, for example, the safety one that I mentioned, would have cost, the cost of it would be under $100,000. So the effect of it would be great, and it would show the entire company and the investors and stakeholders how effective those solutions could be, so that the strategy could be derived from that. And that's exactly how a construction company of that scale needs to move with AI.